They targeted the girl in the wheelchair with a bottle of juice, just to humiliate her. No tears came, only silence and a bowed head. The entire school watched, while the students laughed without guilt. The teachers looked. They saw enough, then chose to ignore. Everyone turned away, except one girl, a black girl, who didn't. 3 days passed. No one spoke, until a single message appeared behind the school. They laughed. Someone actually challenged them. They called it a joke, until it got serious. To them, she was nobody, just the quiet new girl in the hoodie. But now, she's the storm they never saw coming. One punch. They didn't expect it. They fell, hard. The black girl. She fought back. She didn't stand for herself. She stood for the girl in the wheelchair, the one everyone ignored. Before we continue this story, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? And don't forget to like and subscribe, because tomorrow's episode gets even more intense. Chapter 1. The Spill. The afternoon sun burned gently over Lincoln High's courtyard, casting long shadows from benches, backpacks, and bodies. The air buzzed with chatter, the scent of cafeteria leftovers drifting through the open spaces where students gathered in tight social clusters. In the far corner, at a table missing a bench, sat Emily Sawyer, alone, as always. She wore a soft floral blouse and a cardigan pulled snug around her shoulders. Her wheelchair was clean, her movements careful. She opened her lunchbox and adjusted her art folder on her lap, like she did every day. Her routine was quiet, invisible. That was the point. She had learned that silence meant survival. Not far away, 3 boys in red varsity jackets surveyed the courtyard like it belonged to them. Hunter Mills, Chad Andrews, and Logan Peterson. Athletes, popular, loud. Hunter held a half-full cup of bright red fruit punch. When his eyes landed on Emily, his smile sharpened. "Watch this," he said under his breath. Chad chuckled. "Again?" Hunter began his approach, the others following. Emily looked up just as the shadow fell over her. Hunter tripped, deliberately, and the cup flew. The fruit punch arced perfectly through the air, landing with a sickening splash across Emily's head, chest, and lap. Her sketchbook soaked instantly. Red liquid streamed down her hair, her cheeks, her clothes. For a second, silence. Then, laughter, loud, cruel, echoing through the courtyard. "Oops," Hunter said, mockingly concerned. "Didn't see you there." Logan snorted. "Dude, you tripped over a wheelchair? Seriously?" Emily didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just lowered her head again, hands trembling as she tried to save the ruined pages. Her fingers smeared color and juice across the wet paper as her shoulders tightened with quiet shame. Around her, no one helped. Phones came out. Snickers rose. A few students looked uncomfortable, but none moved. 2 teachers standing by the door turned, saw, and turned away. They all saw it. They all did nothing. Except one. From across the courtyard, Kayla James sat under a tree, hood pulled over her braided hair. New to Lincoln High, barely a month in. No friends, no history. Just eyes that saw everything. She watched the punch fly. She watched the laughter swell. She watched the teachers look away. And she didn't move. Not yet. Emily wheeled herself into the bathroom 10 minutes later, still dripping. She locked herself in the accessible stall, pulled paper towels from her bag, and began wiping down her face, her lap, her book. Her eyes stung, but no tears fell. She bit her lip hard. In the stall next to her, the door creaked open. Quiet footsteps. Someone at the sink. A pause. Then a calm voice. "They stain worse if you rub them." Emily froze. She recognized the voice. Kayla. A soft thud. Something left by the sink. When Emily finally emerged from the stall, Kayla was gone. But on the counter sat a packet of wet wipes. Emily stared at it. Then she used one. Then another. That night, Kayla sat on her bed in silence. Her room was still half-packed. A duffel bag in the corner. Blank walls. Temporary space. Temporary life. She pulled out a small wooden box. Inside, a faded photograph, an old hospital wristband, a slip of paper with her brother's name, Andre. She ran her fingers over it, jaw tight. She remembered the day he stood up for someone. She remembered what it cost him. She remembered the silence that followed. But she wasn't going to be silent. Not this time. Not here. Not for Emily. Chapter 2. The Quiet Storm. The next morning at Lincoln High felt no different on the surface. The same morning bell, the same chatter spilling into hallways, the same laughter from the same corners. But Kayla James walked through it all with a different kind of stillness. She moved quietly, hood up, backpack slung over one shoulder. Her eyes weren't scanning for lockers or classes. She was reading people, watching how students moved, who flinched when Hunter passed, who avoided eye contact with Emily, and which teachers turned their backs when things got uncomfortable. Emily wasn't in the hallway that morning. Kayla already knew why. She remembered the way Emily sat frozen yesterday, drenched in red punch, her sketchbook bleeding color onto her lap. And still, no one moved, except her. She didn't help. Not yet. But that was going to change. In her second period class, Kayla barely looked at the board. She sat in the back, her notebook open but untouched. Her mind was elsewhere, flipping through memories she hated, but couldn't forget. 3 years ago. Chicago, a park. After school, she was 14. Her brother Andre, college-bound. Kind, too kind. The boys thought he was someone else. They surrounded him. Kayla screamed. No one stopped. People watched, and then walked away. By the time police arrived, Andre was unconscious. He never woke up. She'd buried more than her brother that day. She'd buried trust. She'd buried her voice. But yesterday, watching Emily, soaked in humiliation, holding back tears that never came, Kayla felt that voice clawing its way back up. She hadn't lost it. She'd been saving it. At lunch, Emily returned. Her hair was dry now, pulled into a tight bun. She wore a clean sweater, a pale one, a deliberate choice. But she didn't look up. She rolled to her usual table, the one no one ever sat at, and unpacked a small sandwich. No sketchbook today. From across the courtyard, Kayla sat on the grass, knees up, hands folded, watching. Hunter walked past with Logan and Chad, laughing, as if yesterday hadn't happened, as if nothing ever touched them. "Round 2?" Logan asked, nudging Hunter. "Nah," Hunter smirked. "She's not worth the punch." They all laughed. Kayla didn't. That night, Kayla didn't do homework. She didn't scroll her phone. She sat on the floor of her room, staring at the wall like it held answers. Then she opened her sketchbook, not for art, for planning. She wrote down 3 names: Hunter Mills, Chad Andrews, Logan Peterson. She drew a map of the school, circled key spots, hallway cameras, blind corners, teacher lounges, exits. Her mind moved like clockwork, clean and cold, a puzzle she was solving. At the bottom of the page, she wrote a single sentence: "You hurt the wrong one." 2 days later, when students arrived at school, something was different. On the back wall of the gym, a message had been spray-painted in thick black letters. "You hurt the wrong one." It was bold, centered, impossible to miss. Whispers flew before first period even started. Who did it? Is this about Emily? Did someone finally snap? Hunter saw it and laughed, but his eyes didn't match his voice. "Man, that's pathetic." Kayla watched him from across the hallway. She didn't laugh. She didn't speak. But inside her, the storm had already begun. Chapter 3. Marked walls. The message on the gym wall didn't fade. Custodians tried scrubbing it before the first bell. Pressure washers hissed. Chemicals stung the air, but the words remained, faint but defiant. "You hurt the wrong one." By lunchtime, it was all anyone could talk about. "She's finally got someone in her corner," one student whispered. "Whoever did it, they've got guts." Hunter brushed it off with loud jokes and louder laughter. but his swagger had a crack in it now. Kayla noticed. She wasn't the only one. Something had shifted. Not loudly, not publicly, but something had broken free. Emily noticed it too. She rolled through the hall that morning with shoulders squared just a little higher. She didn't make eye contact, but she didn't hide either. Her sketchbook was back in her lap, closed but present. She passed the gym. She saw the smudged black letters, and for a second, just a second, she smiled. She didn't know who had done it, but she felt it. Someone had drawn a line, and she was standing on the right side of it. Kayla didn't take credit. She watched the hallway reactions from a distance. She saw how some students whispered in groups, how others avoided the gym wall altogether. She took mental notes, who looked afraid, who looked curious, and who, like Hunter, looked annoyed. She also saw something else, fear. Not the loud kind, the quiet, tightening kind, the kind bullies feel when they realize someone's watching now. After school, she slipped into an empty classroom. The art room. Emily was there. They didn't speak at first. Kayla sat in the corner. Emily unpacked a half-finished sketch. Silence filled the space like sunlight. Then, "You see the wall?" Emily asked, not looking up. Kayla nodded slowly. "Yeah." "You think it'll change anything?" Kayla leaned back, hands in her hoodie pocket. "Not yet. But maybe." Emily glanced up at her. "You were there that day, weren't you?" Kayla didn't answer. She didn't have to. The next day, a second message appeared. This time in red. "Stop watching, start standing." This one was scrawled across a stairwell wall near the cafeteria. Less polished, more urgent. But it hit harder. By third period, the principal's voice echoed over the intercom, calling for whoever is responsible to come forward. No one did. In the hallway, Chad shoved a younger student into a locker, but this time, two bystanders stepped in. "Back off," one said. "What's your problem?" the other added. Chad scowled. He walked away. Not because he was scared, but because for the first time he wasn't sure who might be watching. Later that week, Kayla sat in the school library. Books open, phone untouched. She wasn't studying, she was listening. To the whispers, to the silence between conversations, to the way power was shifting, just slightly. That's how it starts, she thought. Not with noise, with the silence breaking. That night, she wrote again in her notebook. 3 more names, 1 hallway, 2 teachers who always walked away, and beneath it she drew a bench, the one behind the school, the one where no cameras pointed. Then she wrote the next message. Chapter 4, The Challenge Note. It appeared on a Friday morning, just as the fall wind began to carry a bite. A folded piece of paper taped beneath the bench behind the school. The paper was creased, rain-spotted, but the message was unmistakable. "Let's settle this. Behind the school, Monday." Below that, in bolder strokes of red marker, "You chose the wrong target." Students found it before first period and passed it around like fire. Whispers flew faster than the school Wi-Fi. "Is this real? Who wrote it? Wait, is this about Emily?" By second period, the note had been taken down by administration, but it was too late. The words were already in their heads. Inside the boys' locker room, Hunter laughed. "Someone wants a showdown? What is this? A movie?" Chad chuckled, but there was a flicker of uncertainty behind his grin. "They're just bluffing. Probably some freshman with too much time." Logan leaned against the lockers. "Whoever it is, they're getting brave." Hunter cracked his knuckles. Let them show up Monday. We'll show them what happens when nobody's challenged the top." They all laughed again, loudly, but none of them noticed how none of the other players laughed with them. Across campus, Kayla sat in the library, sketchbook open, eyes distant. She hadn't spoken the challenge out loud. She hadn't needed to. The note was hers. But the moment belonged to something bigger now. The school was waking up. Emily hadn't spoken to her since the graffiti. But that afternoon, as students poured into the courtyard, Kayla found her again, by the ramp outside the art room. "You saw the note?" Emily asked. Kayla nodded. "Was it you?" Kayla didn't answer right away. Then, "They laugh because they've never been hit where it hurts." Emily looked down. "What happens Monday?" Kayla met her eyes, calm, steady. "They learn." That night, Kayla stayed up late. She didn't plan a fight. She planned a message. She mapped out positions, where the phones would be, where the teachers stood at lunch, how long it took the security guard to loop from the front gate to the back lot. She checked the weather. Partly cloudy, no rain. Perfect. She laid out her hoodie, gloves, and a fresh notebook. On the first page, she wrote in thick black ink, "Monday, 1:05 p.m., behind the school." No more silence. Then she closed the book and slept without dreams. Monday came like a held breath. By lunchtime, the entire student body buzzed with tension. Teachers were tighter with their glances. Whispers spread like fire. Is it happening? Will anyone really show up? Hunter paced near the gym doors, trying to look casual, but he kept checking his phone. His hands wouldn't stop twitching. Emily didn't eat in the courtyard. She sat in the art room, hands folded, her sketchbook untouched. When Kayla stood from her seat at exactly 1 p.m., she didn't look back. She walked out the side door, her steps even. No hoodie this time. No gloves. Just her, as she was. Behind the school, the bench waited. So did a quiet, watching crowd, and 3 boys who still thought this was their kingdom. They didn't know the storm was already here. Chapter 5. The first fall. The back of Lincoln High had never been this crowded. Students lined the outer courtyard behind the gym, some pretending to check their phones, others whispering with barely contained excitement. The rumor had spread like wildfire. There would be a reckoning today. At exactly 1:05 p.m., Kayla James stepped into the open. No hoodie, no mask, no fear. She wore plain black pants, a fitted dark tee, and a look that could cut glass. Her hands hung loose by her sides, relaxed but ready. The crowd parted just enough. Across from her stood Hunter Mills, arms crossed, flanked by Chad and Logan. They were smirking, posturing, still convinced this was a prank, still blind to what was coming. Hunter stepped forward first. "So, you're the one behind the messages?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "The little graffiti artist? Thought you'd try and impress the freak in the wheelchair?" Laughter rippled around them, nervous, uneasy. Kayla didn't flinch. "She didn't ask for help," she said evenly. "But you made sure she needed it." Chad scoffed. "What are you gonna do, write us a poem?" "No," Kayla replied. Then she moved. One step, one pivot, and with terrifying precision, she struck. A single punch, short, clean, fast. Hunter didn't see it coming. His body spun, feet leaving the ground for a split second before he crashed onto the pavement. The thud echoed. His breath left him in a sharp gasp. Gasps broke through the crowd. Silence followed. Logan moved, rage flashing in his eyes, but Kayla was ready. She sidestepped his lunge and swept his legs in one fluid motion. Logan hit the ground hard, wheezing. Chad froze. Kayla looked at him, not with anger, but with certainty. "You think this is about fighting?" she said. "This is about consequences." Chad backed up slowly. He didn't say a word. From the edge of the crowd, Emily watched. Her wheelchair was parked behind a row of bushes. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she had to be. She had never seen anyone stand like that. Not for her. Not for anyone like her. A teacher finally burst onto the scene, shouting. Another ran for the office. Phones were already out, capturing every second. But the real moment wasn't the fall. It was what followed. Kayla didn't run. She stood there, in full view, calm, controlled, unapologetic. And in the silence that followed, her voice cut clear. You laughed at the wrong one. By the next period, the school was in chaos. Hunter limped to the nurse's office, holding his jaw, refusing to talk. Logan wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Chad disappeared entirely. The video hit social media before the final bell. Thousands of views, dozens of comments. She took him down in one hit. She wasn't even mad, that's what's scary. Finally, someone did something. No one mentioned Emily's name, but everyone knew who this was for. At home, Kayla iced her knuckles in silence. Uncle Darius stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You want to tell me why your school called me today?" Kayla didn't look up. "Because I hit someone." He stepped forward. "I told you, fighting is the last resort." Kayla met his gaze. Her voice didn't shake. It was. Darius sighed, sat beside her. "He deserved it?" "No," she paused. She did. Chapter 6. Rising Voices. The school was different now. It wasn't just the video, though that alone had shaken Lincoln High to its core. It was the silence afterward. A deep, reflective kind of silence, the kind that meant people weren't just shocked. They were thinking. Teachers whispered in faculty lounges. Students stared longer in hallways. Fear no longer flowed in one direction. And for the first time, Emily Sawyer wasn't invisible. It started with a post. Someone had shared a photo. Emily sitting in her wheelchair, red punch dripping from her face, eyes lowered. It was a freeze frame from the incident. Underneath, someone wrote, "She never fought back, but someone fought for her." Then came the comments. "We all saw it happen. She didn't deserve that. None of them ever do." By lunch, the post had been shared over 100 times. The comments weren't just about Hunter, Logan, or Chad anymore. They were about Emily, about silence, about the school itself. Emily sat in the art room that day, sketchbook open, hands steady, but she wasn't drawing people this time. She was drawing voices, bubbles of sound, breaking barriers, cracking silence. When Kayla walked in, Emily looked up. "You okay?" Kayla asked. Emily nodded. "Something weird's happening?" Kayla raised an eyebrow. "They're talking," Emily said. "Not about you, about me." Kayla crossed her arms. "They should." "I'm not sure I like it." "You don't have to," Kayla said. "You just don't hide from it." Emily hesitated. Then she flipped her sketchbook around. On the page was a drawing of herself, hair messy, juice on her clothes, but standing, not sitting. Behind her, dozens of faint figures. Some were blurry, some had their backs turned. But a few were turning around. "Think it's time," Emily whispered. "I said something." That night she wrote a letter. Not to the principal, not to her bullies, to the students. It read, "You saw what happened. So did I. I see it every day in every hallway. I see people laughed at, pushed aside, forgotten. Not just me, others too. If you've ever felt invisible, you're not alone. I'm not asking you to fight. I'm just asking you to stop pretending it doesn't happen." She signed it with one word. Emily. The next day, she posted it on the student board outside the cafeteria. She didn't say a word. She just taped it up and rolled away. By the next period, someone had copied it. Posted it again, then again. By the end of the day, it was everywhere. Kayla watched it spread. She didn't speak up. She didn't need to. Her job had never been to take the spotlight, just to light the fuse. On Thursday, during history class, a girl named Sarah Lee raised her hand. Quiet, anxious, known mostly for her silence. "I'd like to say something," she said, voice trembling. "I saw what they did. I saw a lot of things. I just never said anything before." The room went still. Mr. Reeves, the teacher, nodded. "You're saying something now?" And she did. So did others. By the end of the week, students were writing on sticky notes, posting them around the school. "You're not alone. We see you." I stood by once. I won't again. Hunter stayed silent. Chad avoided eye contact. Logan stopped showing up entirely, but the walls of Lincoln High were speaking now, and they weren't speaking in fear. They were speaking in rising voices. Chapter 7. The Fracture. By Monday morning, the school no longer felt like Lincoln High. The hallways were quieter, but not in a peaceful way. It was the quiet of anticipation, of something cracking beneath the surface. Conversations stopped when certain people passed by. Glances shifted. Doors opened a second longer. Trust was being rearranged, and it started with Hunter's circle. They used to walk through the school like gravity bent toward them. Now they walked in tighter formations. Quieter, less laughter, more paranoia. Chad was the first to pull back. He didn't say it out loud, he didn't need to. It was in the way he no longer laughed at Hunter's jokes. The way he turned away when Logan started mocking a younger kid in class. The way he skipped lunch with them 2 days in a row. "You good?" Hunter asked on Tuesday, his tone clipped. Chad nodded. "Yeah, just tired." But his eyes were restless, and Hunter noticed. Logan, on the other hand, doubled down. He made louder comments, sharper jokes, targeted new faces, anyone who looked unsure of themselves. But his words didn't land like they used to. Laughter didn't follow. Instead, people exchanged looks. Some rolled their eyes. A few even walked away. It infuriated him. "We're losing control," he snapped at Hunter behind the gym one afternoon. "No," Hunter replied, jaw tight. "They're just scared. Let it blow over." "It's not going to blow over." They both fell silent. Because deep down, they knew. The tide had shifted. That week, the school counselor's office saw a spike in visitors. Not all were victims. Some were witnesses. Others were confessing. Anonymous notes began showing up in lockers. Some were simple. "I'm sorry I laughed." "I froze. I wish I didn't." Some were detailed, listing moments from the past 2 years, times when students had been cornered, humiliated, pushed. The administration couldn't keep up. Principal Keller called a closed-door meeting. Only senior staff were invited, not even Mr. Reeves, and that was a mistake. That afternoon, Kayla stayed after class. She waited until the students cleared out before approaching Mr. Reeves. "They're hiding something," she said bluntly. He looked at her over his glasses. "What makes you say that?" "I listen more than I talk," Kayla replied. "I hear the cracks." Mr. Reeves studied her. "What exactly are you hoping to do?" "Not hoping," Kayla said. "Planning." Reeves sighed. "Kayla, you're brave. But be careful. This isn't just about 3 boys anymore. It's about who protected them." "I know," she said, voice cold. "That's why it matters." That evening, Chad received a message on his phone. No name, just a video clip. It was from inside the locker room. A conversation. His own voice, laughing at Emily, mocking her after gym class. He remembered it. A year ago. It was cruel. The message came with a single line. "Decide who you are now." He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he deleted the clip, but not the message. He printed it, folded it, and the next day he slid it across Kayla's desk. She didn't smile, didn't nod. But in her notebook she wrote a new word above the map of the school. Fractured. Chad didn't answer. He was already walking away. That night, Kayla returned to the gym wall where it had all started. The janitor had finally painted over the graffiti. But now there was a new message. Someone had rewritten the words in sharp black ink. "You hurt the wrong one." She's not alone anymore. Kayla traced the letters with her fingertips. No cameras, no crowd, just the truth. Finally exposed. Chapter 8. Truth Exposed. It began with a folder, a plain, nondescript manila folder slipped into Mr. Reeves's mailbox. No sender, no label. But inside were printouts of emails, screenshot logs, and incident reports, all showing the same pattern, complaints ignored, reports buried, teachers warned to avoid conflict. And at the center of it all, Principal Keller. Kayla got the text before the morning bell. "Meet me, art room, Yeti Kirk Besh." It was from Mr. Reeves. When she arrived, he was already pacing, the folder on the table. "I don't know who gave me this," he said, "but it's real." Kayla flipped through the pages. Discipline reports that never reached parents. Anonymous notes from teachers admitting they were told to stand down. One report from Emily's freshman year, where she had reported being followed to the bathroom by Logan. Closed. No further action. Kayla clenched her jaw. "They let it happen," she said. Over and over. Mr. Reeves nodded. "I thought I was fighting a culture problem, but this," he tapped the folder, "this is systemic neglect." Kayla stared at the page. Time to show everyone. At lunch, Emily found a note in her locker. "Today, history class, speak." No signature, but she knew who it was from. She rolled into the classroom just before the bell and saw it. Mr. Reeves's computer screen mirrored onto the projector, and on it, the folder. Every page, every log, every name. As the class filled in, the buzz began. "What is that? Is this about the principal?" "Wait! Logan did what?" When Mr. Reeves entered, he didn't say a word. He simply stood beside the screen and looked at Emily. She hesitated, then wheeled forward. She didn't read from paper. She didn't tremble. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was clear. "I reported them. I asked for help. Not once. Many times." She turned to face the students. "I wasn't the only one." She gestured to the screen. "These aren't just mistakes. They're choices. Adults chose to protect the people who hurt us, and they thought we'd stay quiet." Her voice dropped. "But we're not quiet anymore." The room went still. Then a hand rose. Sarah Lee. Quiet girl. Freshman year, her locker had been stuffed with garbage for weeks. "I remember. I told a teacher. They said they'd look into it. Nothing happened." Then another hand. A sophomore boy. Stuttered speech. Said he was called names every week in gym. Also ignored. One by one, hands rose. Voices rose. And the wall of silence finally cracked wide open. In the front office, Keller was called out of a budget meeting. He returned to find a copy of the folder on his desk and an email from the district superintendent requesting an immediate investigation. By the end of the day, a statement was sent to all staff and parents. "Due to new developments, Principal James Keller will be placed on administrative leave, effective immediately, pending a full review." Hunter read the email in the hallway. He crushed his phone in his fist. "They turned the whole school against us," he growled to Chad. Chapter 9. The Reckoning. The fall bonfire was a tradition at Lincoln High. Every year, the entire school gathered on the football field to burn a paper effigy of their rival school's mascot. It was supposed to be a celebration, team spirit, school pride, selfies under the flames. This year, it became something else. A trial, a turning point, a reckoning. The crowd was massive. Students clustered around the fire pit. Teachers stood stiffly at the sidelines. Parents lined the fence. The mood wasn't festive. It was electric, uneasy, charged. Kayla stood in the shadows near the bleachers, hoodie up. She wasn't here to fight. She was here to finish what she started. Across the field, Hunter, Logan, and Chad stood with forced bravado. Their usual grins were gone. Logan wouldn't stop scanning the crowd. Chad kept fidgeting. Hunter was boiling under the surface. Then Lacey Williams, the cheer captain and Hunter's now ex-girlfriend, stepped onto the mic. "Before we light the fire," she said, voice steady, "I want to say something." She pulled out her phone, connected it to the Bluetooth speakers. "This school let too many voices go unheard, so tonight you're going to hear them." She pressed play. The audio hit like a wave. Recordings. Hunter's voice mocking Emily, Logan laughing about another student's breakdown, Chad bragging about stealing crutches from a boy recovering from surgery, gasps, whispers, phones raised, faces turned. Hunter lunged for the mic. "Turn it off!" But before he could reach her, Kayla stepped into the light, and the crowd parted for her. She didn't speak into a microphone. She didn't need to. Her voice carried. "You hurt people who couldn't fight back. You thought silence was protection." Her eyes locked on Hunter. But silence was the weapon. And now it's gone. Hunter's fists clenched. "You think you've won? You think they care about you? You're just another—" He never finished the sentence. Because Emily Sawyer rolled forward. Into the circle. Into the light. She didn't flinch. Didn't look down. She raised the mic herself. "I'm not invisible anymore," she said, "and none of us are." Behind her, students began to step forward, one by one. The boy with the stutter, Sarah. Others no one had even noticed before. They weren't yelling. They were showing up. The next morning, headlines exploded. Lincoln High students expose abuse in viral bonfire video. District launches full-scale investigation. By Monday, Logan was suspended. Chad had stepped down from the football team and publicly apologized. And Hunter was under formal review for multiple allegations. His father's power couldn't stop it now, because too many people were watching. And in the center of it all, Kayla and Emily sat side by side at lunch. No more whispers, just a quiet understanding between them. They didn't just start a fight. They started a movement. Chapter 10. New Rules. Spring came early to Lincoln High. The flowers in the front courtyard bloomed brighter. The walls were cleaner. The air, somehow, felt lighter, like the school had exhaled after holding its breath too long. But the biggest change wasn't in the building. It was in the people. The district had sent a new interim principal, Dr. Elaine Foster, an educator with a calm voice and steel in her spine. Her first move, a public assembly. No bluster, no denial, just truth. "We failed you," she said plainly. "This school protected the wrong people. That ends now." She announced new policies. A student-led safety council, an anonymous reporting system, restorative justice workshops, mandatory training for all staff. And in the middle of her speech, she invited Emily Sawyer to the stage. Emily wheeled herself forward. She didn't shake. She didn't look down. She simply said, "Power used to belong to the loudest. Now it belongs to the ones who see, who speak, who stand." The room rose in a standing ovation. Not just for her, but for everyone who didn't stay silent. Kayla didn't take the spotlight. She never wanted it. But students looked at her differently now, not with fear, not with pity, with respect. She joined the Student Safety Council, helped train others in verbal de-escalation, still sat in the back of classrooms, still wore her hoodie low, but she walked the halls like someone who had nothing left to prove. Chad served his suspension quietly. He accepted it. Even volunteered to repaint the gym wall, the one where Kayla's first message had once glared in black spray paint. On his last day of service, he painted a final message in clean white letters. "We were wrong." She stood. We fell. Logan transferred out. No goodbyes, no posts, just absence. Hunter didn't, but he no longer walked like a king. He sat in the back now, alone, avoiding eyes. His college prospects dimmed, his legacy reduced to a cautionary tale. He tried once to speak to Emily. She looked at him, calm. "I don't need your apology," she said. "I needed it 2 years ago." And she wheeled away. The art room became a haven. Emily's latest series hung in the hallway display case, portraits of students who used to be invisible, each one vibrant, powerful. The final panel showed a girl standing in shadow, arms outstretched, sheltering a seated figure behind her. It was titled, "Stand for One." Underneath, a plaque read, "Don't wait for someone to speak. Be someone who sees." On the last day of school, students signed yearbooks, laughed, posed for photos. In the courtyard, Kayla stood beneath the tree near the benches, where Emily had once sat alone. Now she wasn't alone. Sarah, Chad, Marcus, even Lacey. They gathered around Emily's chair, talking, laughing. Kayla smiled just barely and walked away, not out of distance, but out of peace. In her final meeting with Dr. Foster, Kayla was offered something unexpected. "There's a leadership program," Dr. Foster said. "Mentorship, activism, a scholarship if you want it." Kayla paused, then nodded. "I think it's time to build something." As she walked out of the office, she passed a new sign being installed near the entrance. A quote, painted in bold, permanent letters. "You don't need to fight loudly. You just need to stand. Lincoln High, Class of Change. End of Chapter 10 and end of story." She was just a target until she fought back.